For centuries, Armenia has had periods of independence and autonomy. It has also been under the sway of such empires as Roman, Byzantine, Persian, Arab, Mongolian, Seljuk, Turks, then the other Ottoman and Russian empires.
The Armenian Genocide was a mass extermination of Armenians, Assyrians, and Greeks carried out by the Ottomans from 1915 until 1923. It's often considered the first major genocide of the 20th century. In the 19th century, the current rulers, the Ottoman Empire, began to collapse. Fearing a rise of Armenian nationalism, the Turks started cracking down on these people. During the 1890s, the government massacred hundreds of thousands of civilians. The treatment got even worse when a nationalistic group known as the Young Turks took control in 1908. Their goal was to purge the land of any non-Turks. Sound familiar? So once World War I broke out, by 1915 the Ottomans saw the Christian Armenians as a threat, fearing they would help the Christian Russians against Turkey. The genocide started when hundreds of Armenian intellectuals were killed on April 24, 1915. Laws were passed to fully depopulate Turkey of the Armenian minority. Villages were burned. Entire populations walked out into the desert left to die. Killing squads hunted down any survivors. Once again, sound familiar? Under the context of war, the Ottomans went on a mass genocide against those they deemed unworthy. 2 million Armenians lived in Turkey before 1915. 1.5 million were killed. Greeks and Assyrians who lived in the Anatolian Peninsula since Roman times faced mass killings as well. Around 450,000 Greeks were killed and 300,000 Assyrians, ending all three cultures in the region. Now, I'm sure many are thinking, this was 100 years ago. Why is it so significant? Today, the Turkish government, the successor of the Ottomans, deny to call these actions a genocide. Since Turkey is a NATO ally and controls some important chunk of land, other nations, United States included, are uneasy to drop the G word when discussing these events. Turkey actively goes out of its way to punish those who mention genocide.
His dramatic resignation of Prime Minister Serj Sargsyan and his cabinet. The pilgrimage this year feels different.
Early part of 1915, the Turks began to take all the professors, doctors, lawyers, all the intelligentsia into prisons. And after they had butchered them in very horrible manner, then they began to take, they took all the men who were not professionals, boys 12 years of age up to 72 years of age men, and destroyed them. And then, which left the women and children unprotected. Then they began to take the wealthy families out first and destroy them. And then before taking them out, they would come and write Sovket on everybody's door. That meant exile, which meant that the following day they were going to be taken out, and everybody had to be ready. Of course, they had everybody sell their belongings. We took our 11-room house, emptied all the rooms and took them all down. And the auctioneer came and sold everything. We got $45 out of the whole 11-room house furnishings, and about 3 donkeys. And the Turks took 2 donkeys away from us. That left us with 1.
Honor the 1.5 million lives that were lost 101 years ago. And we honor those lives by calling their tragedy by its true name, genocide, the Armenian Genocide. Hitler once famously said, "But who remembers Armenia?" The answer is the whole world.
Today, Armenians have gathered, as they do every year, to remember their past. But for the last 2 weeks, they have been gathering by their thousands for political change, change which may finally have arrived. The leader of the opposition movement, which forced Sargsyan from power, joined with the people to pay his risk politics. But if it's willing to accept that Armenians desire change, The Velvet Revolution is set to maintain its momentum. Robin Forrester Walker, Al Jazeera, Yerevan.